Hello, good afternoon, and welcome along to our Think About It session. Hey, Tienie.
Hey Kirsty, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. All good.
Mm, I love your mustard, or is it gold? Because our colors are green and gold, aren't they?
It's mustard. I'm just feeling the autumnal love of the
Yes,
what's going
yes,
on outside.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, dug out the
I hear
fluffy
you.
jumpers, and I'm ready for winter.
Nice, nice. Love it, love it.
So, week three, we are week three, Tinny, and what are we talking about? So, this week we are talking about the purpose of having a vision in leadership and in business. So, if you're new here, this is our weekly micro digestible session where me and Tinny come and talk about a really micro topic every week and give you some insight, some thought, some reflection, some actions, whatever it is, to go away and do something different in your business, to think about things differently, to maybe take something away and make some changes, or just to give you something to think about. So this week is around having a vision and the purpose of it. So yeah, let's open up. Tinny, the purpose of having a vision. Where do you want to start?
Wow. So I know it's a micro chunk that we're doing, or a little bite-sized learning piece for a lunch perspective, but a vision is kind of a foundational piece for a business. But we also need to look at the maturity of a business and whether it's a startup or whether it's a well-established business. There's a couple of elements for me that kind of influence the vision, and so startup versus established, there's flexibility versus stability, or innovation versus execution, or risk taking versus risk management. And all of those elements kind of have an effect on that vision.
Mm.
And us working in the ethical coaching company and starting with that, making the life of work better, or having an overall objective of where we want to go, it facilitates the flexibility, innovation, and risk-taking elements of the vision for us. Whereas a more established business wants to create stability for the people that are in the business, also wants to have the execution bit of it so it can uh, um, sustain the business a little bit. Or from a risk management point of view, it's the managing the risk from a sustainability point of view. So it's depending on where we sit, and what our orientation is. We need to bear these things in mind.
Yeah, lots and lots of information there. And I think
Yes.
the importance, I think, of what you've just said before we get into, because what I want to start with is really get clarity on what we're even talking about from a vision, because I think people get so confused with vision, mission, values, belief statement. Like there's so much out there, isn't there? And I want us to
Yeah.
get clear what we're talking about today. But I think what's really important of what you've just said is around, it's not static. It's not something we create once at the offset and then just stick with and go with it. It's like, it's flexible. It needs to evolve and grow with you as a business. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. The so with a mature business, the vision is established. Within a startup, it's fluid and flexible in its creation until we settle into it, as to, okay, this is where we are and this is what we're trying to do. And we have to. So, what I love is the golden thread analogy. Is orientating the people that are in your business towards the work that they're doing as it applies to the vision of what it is you're aiming for, where you're going, what the direction of travel is, and creating that golden thread in your business so that anybody in any place, in that business, in whatever function it is that they're fulfilling, understands the work that they're doing in a minute manner, the impact it has on the overall vision. And
Yeah.
the story that comes to mind is that person again, the janitor at NASA, and one of the CEOs of the project leads walked up to the guy and said, "So, what do you do here?" He says, "I help put people on the moon." So it's the
Yeah.
he is orientated towards the vision of
Mhm.
NASA, irrespective of the functional work that he does.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think to have that vision so clear and embedded in every aspect of your business is just, I love the magic that happens when that comes together.
Yes,
So let's get really clear. When we're talking about vision, we're talking about a future focused direction. We're talking about what the company wants to achieve, what their desires are, what they're working towards. Yeah.
yes, and and it doesn't have to be a complicated statement. It doesn't have to be a overwhelming piece of, oh my goodness, we'll never be able to get there. It could
Mhm.
be something as simple as that we empower people for transformational growth and development.
Mhm.
That statement can fit for any business,
Mhm.
whether it's a marketing business, whether it's a financial institution, whether it's um, a tech business. The orientation of wanting to achieve that for us as a business and our clients is an overarching piece.
And I think the importance of that is, well, 'cause when you were talking there, just a couple of things is when we work with organizations and whenever I work with people from a business coaching capacity, business coaching capacity, the vision is the place I start all the time, because unless
Yes.
we know where we're going, how can we ever get there? And how can we get a whole business to get there, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
no point it being in the head of the leader or the head of one person. Like, this vision has to come alive for not only everybody internally, but everybody that comes into contact with the business. For me, it has to be almost filtered through the marketing, the messaging, the offers, the services, the culture, like everything kind of is
Everything.
on towards that one thing. So when I start working with people, sometimes the pushback is people can't see that far. They're not willing to kind of put a stake in the ground. And when you were just chatting there, I was just thinking of, there's so many ways to set that vision, right? Like, you might look 5 years ahead, someone else might look 50 years ahead, someone else
Yeah.
might look, and it's about finding what works, isn't it, for that
Yeah.
specific business,
Yeah.
for that leadership team. And I think that's really important, isn't it?
Yes, and I love just going back to that analogy of you. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there,
Yeah.
and it's creating clarity around that aspect of things. And I was privileged enough to be part of a vision day for a business, industrial business, a couple of weeks ago, and what was awesome about that is that yes, they had a vision, mission, and values piece that was part of the business, but they felt that as a collective and as an established group of a certain amount of people, let's all get together for the day, get to know each other a little bit, and then spend the afternoon in writing a vision that we feel can transform who we are for the
Mhm.
next 5 to 10 to 12 years.
Mhm.
And broke them up into a couple of groups. Each of them came up with their sentence of 8 to 12 words, put them together as one group. They came up with a final piece of sentence and then signed the document.
Mhm.
That's our vision for the future. And
Mhm.
now they're all orientated towards that overall
Mhm.
objective that they're trying to
Mhm.
achieve. Um, and they've created that as a collective.
And that's the important piece, as a collective, because
Yes.
we're not pushing it onto them. We want it to be collaborative. We want them to feel as passionate as the janitor in NASA about putting people on the moon, right? And unless they've had an input into that, that's really difficult to achieve. So it's about getting their input from the off, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
so vital to the success of it, that it's not being done to them. Like, they're almost on this train together.
Yes. The And even if you are an established business with a already established vision, there is no harm in getting your town halls or your team dynamic sessions orientated towards the vision so that everybody goes on a road of discovery to determine what it is that the role that they're playing in their function aligned to that vision. And that's the place that I start when I also deliver the team dynamic sessions for some of our clients. In that, so as a finance team, what is it that you do that impacts the longevity of your business? And you get answers like, well, we make sure that our forecasts are accurate, we get a clear understanding of our profit margins, we have how does that impact the overall vision from a sustainability perspective, other than managing things so that they keep working in and are oriented in the right direction? What is it that makes you get excited on a Monday morning to come in and do the job that you do?
And that's really important, because otherwise it can become so abstract and out of touch to those people in the functions, right? Of like in those silos, because how the finance team interpret it versus the marketing or sales team interpret it is completely different. So helping them do the work to go, okay, so here's our overarching vision. Whilst that might seem really lofty and far off and out there, what does it actually mean to us? Like, how do we actually make an impact with that? And I think there's a big correlation also is feeding that from the vision into the values as well, of like, how do we live and breathe those values that align to that strategic direction of the vision? And that's taking it from, like, whilst I love seeing people's vision and values plastered all over their buildings, until I see it actually in each team's strategy and action plan and personal development plans, like, that really means something, because having it on the boardroom wall means nothing to me. Like, I would much rather see it in that in a team's personal development action plan of what they're going to work on for the next 6 months and how that filters up into that, than just plastered on a wall.
And your hiring process orientates towards how people are naturally orientated to some of your values, to some of the aspects in your mission. And I don't think we give enough credit sometimes in our recruitment processes to identify, other than the curriculum vitae that's offering me the qualifications for the particular function of work that I'm doing, there is a behavioral aspect that aligns to the values. And how does someone demonstrate those things naturally, so the fit into the business and our vision and the values is easy for them? And it's how do we orientate ourselves to that and live and breathe what it is that's plastered on the walls. And so those things become a truth as a consequence of who I am.
Absolutely. And I think this matters whether you're a sole trader, independent person, or a business of 20,000 people. Like, it doesn't matter the size of, like, you might have just you, there might be you and 10, there might be you and 600, there might be you and 20,000. Like, it doesn't matter. That having that direction is really vital. Otherwise, you end up just doing that whole scattergun of, you're not sure what you're working on. But how do you know you're even going to get there if you don't have something to work towards? So let's talk about the challenges that people have with either setting it, creating it. Where do they even start? So if they're listening to this and going, I'm not sure our vision really is aligned with who we are, we've maybe outgrown it, we might not even have one. Like, let's talk about the challenges that those people have.
The translation between the vision and the words to the work that I'm doing, the ease of that, I think, is one challenge. Is how easy can I align the work that I do to the vision that the business is offering out there? The other challenge that I see is the energy that people arrive at work with. In other words, some people are glass half empty and some people are glass half full perspective. And so are we orientated to just a 9-to-5 way of working versus, and that's okay, because we do need people to just grind work and deliver on fundamental pieces of work. But adding value as a manager or as a leader in a business, and I'm talking about established businesses here, to the individual, to give them further purpose, aligning their work to their vision, just adds that additional almost empowerment, autonomy, added motivation, where they move from a comply to a commit space, which already improves performance for them. And in a startup business, it's the whole piece of getting the whole team together and saying, you know what, this is our vision. How are we feeling about it? What is it? How does this align to some of our beliefs? And so we need to get it intrinsically in the heartbeat of individuals. And sometimes that's not easy to do, because it becomes, it's lofty, fairy words that people don't align to from a natural perspective. And so that's another challenge that I feel might take place.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think another thing that I see, which is a challenge, is they don't know how to set something that is tangible or that means something without, because the core of all of these challenges, I think, is time. People don't set the time intentionally to work on this stuff. It's almost like, right, quickly, let's do a vision, right, tick box, right, that's done, stick it on the website, move on. And I think the time element is the kind of fundamental problem with every one of these challenges. And I think setting time aside to go, okay, what do we want our vision to be? What does that really look like? Does that feel really good energetically to me as the leader, or to us as the leadership team, before we, how are we spending that time intentionally creating that? I see that as a really key issue.
Yeah. So the vision is kind of divided into three things for me. The one is, what is it that I'm doing? Am I selling widgets? Am I a accounting firm? Am I a marketing firm? And what is going to make me transformational? And how do I believe in that? What is it that I believe that I can do that is transformational in the industry that I'm finding myself in? And how can I now articulate that in words to represent that belief? 8 to 12 words, I think, is sufficient. And remember, this is just my opinion. It's people have a different perspective. Articulating your belief of how you can make a difference in the industry that you find yourself in, and then getting other people that believe the same thing to be part of that team for you.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think I'm just thinking around, like, the people that might be listening going, why do you even need a vision, right? Because I think it's really important for us, whilst we obviously agree, understand, I think it's important to almost play devil's advocate, because there are people out there that have gone, well, I don't have a vision, I just wing it, and I've done all right so far. And I get that, right? So why should we even have a vision? And for all those things that you've just said, like, for me, people that have winged it, people that just go with the seat of the pants, great, but not everyone can work like that. And as soon as you start to grow and scale, to me, how can you take a group of people in one direction without a targeted vision and focus and direction of travel? Is my kind of thought process on that. What's your take on that?
So the two key words for me that you used there was grow and scale. And unless those things are things that you want, if it's a lifestyle business and you want to run it in the way that you want to run it, from a quite flexible, innovative, risk-taking, without a vision statement or a goal that you're orientating yourself towards, and there are other people that will do that with you, all fine and dandy. If you want to scale and grow your business, there needs to be some kind of secure, solid direction of travel that feeds a belief of we can do this, and let's get there together, and all be part of that sustained transformation that we're creating in the sector that we're in.
Yeah. And you said something there just before around, this is just your opinion and this is just our opinion, right? For me, it doesn't matter how you get there, how you do it, how long it is, or whatever. If you and your team are bought into it and it's clear, there's a clear vision of what you're all working towards, that's all you need, right? Whether that is verbally just discussed and agreed, whether that's on the wall, whether that's on your website. Like, it doesn't have to be those things, right? It's just everybody in that team, that business, needs to know what you're all working towards, because that's where you create that collective collaboration versus this person over here thinks you're doing this person over here is working on just this element, and creating that siloed effect, which we know isn't a great way to work with regards to productivity and impact. So do it your way is what I would say. If people are going, where do I start? Or we do this, or we don't do that. Like, if it works for you, cool. But just have something where you can all work towards.
Yeah. I read a cool article the other day. Startup business in the tech space. They don't mind where people are, where they work from. Their only goal from a vision perspective is do what you say you're going to do. That's it. That's it. That's all that they hold each other to accountable. And you've got 3 strikes, and then the request is for you to resign from the business.
I know, but I love that. I love people just doing it completely different and throwing the rule book out. And I think we've spoke about it before, and I'm probably paraphrasing here, but with regards to Netflix, right? They have no rules. Their rule is they have no rules.
Oh yes.
And apart from, I think their thing is it for the greater good of the business? Like, is this in the greater good or interest of Netflix? Then you can do it. Whether that is spending budget, taking time off, working from wherever you want. Like, that is the rule. Is they've got no rules other than is it for the greater good of the business. And I kind of admire people who do that, who go, do you know what? We're not doing that. But they are all still working towards the same thing, right? The same intent. And that intent is for the greater good of that business. And I suppose it's what you call it and how you do it that is different.
And so the discussion was, so your North Star or orientation is do what you say you're going to do. And so in a meeting, we said, yes, Mr. Client, we can get this project over the line in 6 weeks. There are 4 stakeholders in this meeting that are agreeing that that's what we're going to do. The stakeholders then need to talk to the people that are going to be delivering the work, that's what we promised. And so if we don't do this, we need to find the pinch point that is going to affect the fact that we're not going to be able to do that. And so at times there is a 30-hour week or a 40-hour week or an 80-hour week required to deliver on that statement. But we've all agreed that that's what we're going to be doing. So then it goes back to the initial negotiation of, should we have said 6 weeks? Could we have given ourselves 8 more weeks on this? Therefore, so now consequentially aligning to that one piece of information and the drop down into the business, how are you managing that for yourself? So it's just great that there is all of those things that are guiding the orientation of the vision.
What's the biggest impact if we don't have that orientation?
I think it goes back to our initial statement of if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. You will become distracted. You will potentially be not seen as a focused business. There are things like the sustained delivery of a particular quality of work. Are you lucky because you've done it 3 times in a row in a great way, even although you're not orientated towards anything? Is the way that you're working actually offering you a vision that you can pin down? So there's quite a few areas that would kind of challenge the business on. And then also, if you've got to represent who you are to a client, what are you saying about yourself?
Yeah. And it comes back a little bit to that whole what gets measured gets done. Like, if you're not putting something, if you're not articulating something around something, you're never going to achieve it. You're never going to get there. unless you go, right, this is what we want, we're working towards achieving this, we're going to go for it, versus just everybody going off and doing their own thing, thinking they're doing it. And I think it almost becomes very disjointed, doesn't it, potentially?
Yes. I think disjointed is a great word around that. And it goes even further to people spend energy on delivering on something when it wasn't even required. Because they thought it was, and they had no orientation towards what that potentially should look like.
Yeah, completely. Right, let's summarize it for those listening. Our kind of top tips, suggestions, and I've made a note as we've gone. Have something that forms a direction, whether you want to call it a vision statement, whether you want to, whatever you want to do, but just have something that orientates the whole direction of you, your business, your team. And get the input of the team if you've got one. Make sure that people understand the impact that they're having on it throughout the whole of the business, whether they are in finance, sales, marketing, or whatever. Get everybody's input, help people see how they are contributing to that vision. And be flexible depending on where your business is in the stage of growth and where it wants to go and what it wants to achieve. And flexible also in how you do it and what that looks like, because it's got to be sustainable and achievable for every business. So you kind of make it your own. Do you think they are fair takeaways and reflections?
Yes, and find that spot that you believe in what it is that you're stating as the vision, because it needs to be something that sits in your heart, sits in your I'd love to do this, and that'll be an addition that I'd offer up.
Brilliant. I love that. Okay, so that, ladies and gentlemen listening, is the purpose of having a vision in business and as leaders. And if you want to come back and join us, we'll be here next week. I think we're talking about emotional intelligence next week. And if you want to catch up on the ones that we've done so far, you can head over to LinkedIn, YouTube, or Spotify.